Yesterday, Gaijin made an announcement about the whole debacle that is going on currently with the economy and the whole protest and the review bombing. As usual, their response is absolutely awful and it has done nothing except show that review bombing is the way to get their attention. I won't read the whole thing here, though I will leave the whole post in the description if you want to read it for yourself. I will only go over the few statements that I just found absolutely stupid. Player progression is essential. You can't give a player everything at once because it will overwhelm and make the game very difficult for them, and they will just leave it either immediately or almost immediately. This has been tested by us many times in different ways. When applied to our game, later vehicles are almost always more difficult to learn and play tactically in the controls and with its capabilities. Progression provides opportunities for gradual learning and engaging the players. Without it, the game will lose players right from the start. So even though you yourself said that the more advanced vehicles in game, so like the top tier vehicles, are much harder to play, you still provide new players the opportunity to just buy a bunch of premiums and jump into top tier with absolutely no experience, ignoring the fact that the game gets easier in the higher ranks just because of the utilities that the tanks get. For example, the laser rangefinder, thermal imaging, scout drone. Yes, air RB gets a lot harder just because a lot of people do not know how to work with the radar. That is hard, yes. Reason why it is hard is because it's not explained in game. Good luck finding any tutorials in game that will help you understand radars. Most War Thunder players, about 80% of them, have never paid a dime into a game whilst playing for months or years. Many of those players who have paid for something in the game don't pay every month. Nevertheless, all of the maintenance to the game, all of its development, servers and support is provided by those players who pay. So basically what you just said openly, bear in mind openly, is that 80% of your player base does not pay. And those 20% that do not pay enough. How can you just sit there and write this bullshit? And in this wall of text, they just explain to us how a free-to-play game works because we're too stupid to understand, it seems. But there are still 2 points that I want to highlight from that whole wall of text. First one being, the total time to get the first top vehicle should be balanced, not too long, not too short. Yet again, you provide the players to completely skip over every single grind by letting them buy top tier premium vehicles. And even then, you make it too long because you have to research for an entire year just to get a single top tier vehicle if you start from the beginning. And that's not counting the research for modifications, the basic shit such as the FPE or the repair parts. And then they say that the player should at the beginning of the game route, while mastering the game, get new in-game equipment often enough. Which basically means that the first 3 ranks are easy to research. Once you pass the first 3 ranks, that's where the research speed will drop and your earnings will drop as well. That's where the grind takes full effect. And the reason why it only starts after the 3rd rank is because they want as many people into the grind before they suspect anything wrong about the grind itself. Because most people think that they're way too invested into the game already, or they have invested into the game already, so they don't want to stop, so they'll push through the grind. And they're basically just baiting you into thinking that the grind is easy, only for you to figure out that the grind is super hard once you're past a certain point. And lastly, they said this. Separately, a few words about review bombing as a method of communication. As many of our players know, we've repeatedly reverted both planned and already released large and small changes, including in the economy and progression. We value our players and our game, not our updates and changes. If we know that the majority of the community does not want an update, we cancel or revert it immediately. Even if some part supports and some part opposes, we prefer conservatively to do no harm principle. That's just such a massive lie. They do not care what you have to say about the updates. They never care. The only time that they care is when a major strike or a major protest like this happens. where a bunch of the community members get a lot more vocal. If they valued the player base or the community, they wouldn't do such idiotic decisions, mainly if you're speaking about the economy. That's not even counting the balance in general in the game. Of course, a review on Steam is also a platform for expression. However, the majority of new players just look at the score evaluation and do not read the text of reviews and do not go into what they were left for. So review bombing does damage to the game in that the new players simply won't try it, while it doesn't raise their awareness of the problems you've noticed. If your goal is not to hurt the game, please use other, less destructive ways. For example, leave feedback in our forum and suggestions specifically about the economy we are inviting in the feedback form. So pretty much what they're saying is that the review bombing is the way to get their attention. They've confirmed this at least. And I like that they recommend leaving feedback in their forum, even though that place isn't famous for being their safe space. If you leave a complaint, if you leave feedback or anything that they do not like, they'll either delete the thread, delete your comment, or lock the thread. What they're saying here is basically we cannot suppress the bad reviews, but if you were to go to the forums where we can delete these comments and posts, that would be very nice of you. Please go to our forum so we can just stop this little protest. Thank you. Just don't even try to go to their forums. It won't work. They'll just keep deleting your threads or your comments. I will, however, say, do take the survey seriously. Even though it's most likely a long shot, it's one of the things they came up with, so at least take that part seriously. Don't just trash them in the surveys. Actually take your time to answer the surveys. We have their attention, that part is confirmed. By making this thread, they basically confirm that we got their attention by review bombing. Now we need to act. To close this off, their response is just dumb, to say the least. They've shown zero awareness, and they only confirm that we did in fact get their attention by review bombing. But at the same time, like I already said, do take the surveys or the polls or whatever they do, take them seriously. We've been given an opportunity, so let's just use the opportunity.